Yes, people, we are back live on the channel for an F1 Las Vegas Grand Prix preview. It's going to be an interesting weekend. We've just seen the qualifiers, so hoping, we have some interesting predictions. We have some interesting, conversations to talk about, about Alpine, about Ferrari, about McLaren, and Max Verstappen and Mercedes as well, and so on and so forth. Joining me, my co-host, Agustia. What are you saying, bro? You good?
Yeah, what's good, Akevin? Hope you're doing well.
I'm doing all right, man. My Boston Celtics won this morning. I'm chilling. You and obviously we got King as well. King, what are you saying, bro? Excited for
Yeah,
the?
all good. Excited to talk about Formula One. The qualifying was interesting this morning. Well, it's morning for me, so it was interesting this morning,
it
real
was
early.
yeah. It
But
was afternoon for us, yeah.
I'm just excited to talk about it because a lot happened in a short space of time.
Oh, yeah, a lot did. But yeah, let's get into it right away. Obviously we'll talk about just a couple of things. So like I mentioned, yeah. Ferrari had So we talk. Let's actually get into this. Let's get into this topic. So F1 are considering bringing in an 11th team into the grid. So it's going to be like 22 drivers on the grid now, which is going to be interesting to see. Who do you guys think? What do you guys think for F1 should do? Who do you think they should bring back? Like which cars do you think, or do you think they should bring in like some new fresh car or a new fresh team? What do you guys think? I'll start with you guys here since I haven't really heard from you in a while.
Yeah, so I think again an 11th team would be quite good for Formula One. The track clearly has the capacity to handle that. And if you look at the grid, we have 3 engine suppliers. It would not be bad to add a 4th one. I think, if I'm not mistaken, we will be getting Audi in 2026, and that would be a welcome addition. I think it's nice. You have a German brand completely. It would diversify the grid, and it would make it more competitive and interesting, right? You add a new element to it, and not only that, it generates a bucket load of revenue. So I think it's good that they're adding an 11th team. Audi are great. I personally would have liked to have seen Andretti, because you have the history and heritage with Andretti, and there is no reason why Formula One rejected their return to the sport. But it is what it is. I think an 11th team would be a fantastic addition to the sport.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Would like to see the likes of BMW Sauber come back. Would like to see maybe even Lamborghini, maybe even some of the new top names enter the grid. Not to discredit any other team that's in the grid right now, but to make it more competitive, I think we're going to need some of the top names. But King, I'll go to you next. What are your initial thoughts on this, bro? Who do you think should be the next?
I don't really know. I'm not really too fussed about what team comes in. I just want a team that's just trying to compete. I think there's not enough seats for the amount of quality young drivers that are coming through. And the problem with Formula One, or the biggest problem with Formula One is nepotism, and the fact that the only people that can get a seat is if they have money that backs them. So you have an issue where you have a lot of drivers in F1 that shouldn't be there, but because they're backed by money, they're still in the sport. So at least it gives 2 more opportunities for drivers to come into the sport for me. So I think for the drivers, I think they need this because there's so many good drivers that should get given the chance of F1, and the sport's becoming younger and younger. So you look at the guys coming from F2, there is not really a pathway to Formula One. So I think I would like to see more and more teams, maybe even 12 teams at some point, just so that there's pathways for younger drivers. Because a lot of the time, you see a guy win the F2 championship and then he doesn't get a seat the next season. Then he doesn't get a seat the next season. Then he goes to Formula E or to NASCAR or to another form of car racing, or to GR3 racing and stuff like that. And then a young talent that had the potential to race Formula One and probably be successful in it isn't given the opportunity, similar to like a Nick De Vries or someone of that ilk. So I think more seats is better for me. In terms of the type of teams, I would love to see an American team. I think there's so many American races, so
Right.
another American team would be good.
Any
Looking
names?
into the story, it's looking like General Motors is meant to be the team that's coming in. So a Cadillac
America?
team would be, an
From
American team is looking the most likely.
right.
So that would be good. Andretti, I think, has always wanted to add a team. So I think he's the kind of guy that will be looking to enter a team as well.
Do you think they should replace some of the names that are here right now? Like, for example, I'm not discrediting any team or anything, by the way. I'm just saying, do you think that instead of being sponsored by like Ferrari, instead of being by Mercedes, do you think they should, like Red Bull, Honda, for example? Do you think that they should bring in someone like Porsche, bring back BMW, Sauber? Do you think they should bring back like teams like they should bring in teams like Lamborghini, Bugatti, and all that stuff? Because these are big car names. These are like big brand names. So like, do you think that like I'm saying again, I'm not discrediting any team that's in here, but to make to make it bigger, do you think that those teams should take over and then sort of make the F1 a bit like make it a bigger brand than it already is with the names that I listed? Where you two can go and
Well, with Red Bull, they were already announced a partnership with Ford. So Ford is a company that's going to come back in the sport as an engine supplier. Obviously, you have Audi as well.
Yeah, they're coming in. Yeah,
they're coming in. So for me, the only team that I look at that needs to step up for me is Alpine, aka Renault, because I think if you're a team that's an engine supplier team, you should be up there fighting for race wins. And for so long, they're a team that has all the money, has the engine, has the money, has the technology, has the backing of a whole company in terms of Renault and Alpine and stuff like
right.
that. And for me, I think they're ones that I look at and say they need to be doing better than they actually are, because there are smaller teams that are doing better than them season in, season out, that don't have that have to borrow an engine from Ferrari or Mercedes or even Red Bull's second team sometimes even does better than them. So I think Alpine is a team that I look at maybe can be replaced if they don't step up.
I gotta say, what about you?
Yeah, I completely agree with King. I think he made such a logical and effective point in we have so much young talent in F2, F3, the F1 Academy, and the pathway to getting to the top is very slim. And F1, again, is plagued with nepotism and big money, just like any industry in sport. So I think, again, the regulations and the rules of how to get to the top need to be changed. There needs to be more opportunity. And I think, again, F1 just needs to be very careful with what they do. Obviously, the new regulations in 2022, I guess we can call them a success, right? Because from being basically a duopoly of Mercedes versus Red Bull, every team has a chance of getting on the podium these days. So I think the future looks bright for Formula One. They just, again, need to expand, open up into new markets, and provide better pathways for younger drivers to reach the top.
Yeah, because you got drivers like Mick Schumacher on hold. You've also got Ollie Behrman, Liam Lawson, and you've also got like up and coming drivers. So you never know in the future. Like, they could be drivers from India, they could be drivers from Thailand, more drivers from, like, for example, USA, more drivers from other countries that we don't know, even Brazil, for example. Like, you just never know. There's a lot of hidden gems out there. I think the more teams, the better. The more teams for me, and the more backups, the better. So that we can see the more talent and more potential that can poise threat into the top drivers today. But let's move on from this. I just want to bring up a stat. As a Ferrari fan myself, I'm shocked to even see this. I can't lie. I'm actually really shocked to see this. Ferrari are the only team in F1 this year to not have a Q1 exit in qualifying. That I never thought I'd see that stat. I thought we had like a Q1 exit already. Crazy. Easy. Oops, I think I'm hearing myself.
Is that me or?
No, we can hear you, Ekavin.
No, I'm just hearing myself in echoing. I don't hear myself anymore. All good. So basically, yeah, I was just mentioning, yeah, Q1. I never expected Ferrari to not have a Q1 exit, which is amazing. Like, if we're the only thing to do that in class, keep it that way. Keep it that way. Don't fall, because now you're in the race. Now you're within, like, what? I don't know how many points you don't gain any points from qualifiers. So tomorrow, obviously, with the Ferrari 1 and 2 and 3, sorry, 3 and 4 finish. Excuse me, is it 3 and 4? Yeah.
2 and 4.
2 and 4. Sorry, 2 and 4 finish. Yeah, Ferrari now. They finished above McLaren, both drivers, within the touching distance of the podium. This could be interesting tomorrow. Very, very interesting tomorrow. Obviously, George Russell, props to him. Obviously, he got the fastest time. So he got pole, and Esteban Ocon finishing third. What do you like to make of that?
Yeah, so I think, again, as you alluded to before the show, Ekavin, Alpine last 2 races, a complete renaissance, because for the first half of the season, they were in no man's land. And as King said, if you're an engine manufacturer, you should be towards the upper echelon of the grid, but they were the contrary. So again, a 2 and 3 in Brazil, insane. Although I would attribute that to more circumstances rather than quality, because again, in the rain, it's not a conventional race. You require pure skill, luck as well when it comes to safety cars and incidents. I think Alpine did great. Pierre Gasly and Esteban Ocon have shown they have the ability to step up when push comes to shove. And for Gasly to finish third, I think it is utterly impressive, because by no means should that car be third. That is pure driver performance and upgrades. And let me add, I think Pierre Gasly is the only driver this season to not be involved in any incident. Yes, he had the incident in Monaco with Esteban Ocon, but that resulted in no damages. So he has objectively been the most reliable driver. So for any constructor, that's a wet dream for them, right? Because you don't have to repair the car. So the Pierre Gasly, I think, yeah, what an impressive third place. But yeah, I think it's very encouraging for Alpine.
Yeah, I hear that. But yeah, King, Ali, I will say as well on that, because I did allude earlier to the fact that they did finish double podium this year, and with this qualifier, I'm thinking that maybe it wasn't a fluke anymore, considering how the drivers did in Brazil. Obviously, you can't do much with the wet tires, and obviously the intermediates on wet ground, wet surfaces. But do I think that this is a fluke now? Maybe not. It depends on what they do tomorrow. It depends on tomorrow's race, to be honest, because if they can back it up with a really high with a really high finish in the table, in the grid, then people will start to think, okay, maybe this is not a fluke that Alpine finished double podium in Brazil, but they did. But now they come back to Vegas, and look where he's done. Look what Esteban Ocon's done. He's finished in the top 3, unexpectedly, to be honest, because he was literally on the brink of getting eliminated in Q2 as well. He literally was on the brink of getting eliminated in Q2. I was seeing, yeah. Obviously, I didn't watch quality. I was seeing the highlights, yeah. He was literally on the brink of getting it's literally in the risk of elimination from Q2, which is crazy. Like, to come back from that and to finish within the podium, like tomorrow, it sets up well. But where I think he will finish will be a different conversation. But I'll let you have the floor now, bro. Just want to get my say on that.
In regards to Alpine and Brazil, it isn't a fluke. I think they just got luck at the draw in regards to the race. I don't think in terms of race pace, the Alpines are there yet. Because when it came to Brazil, it was just about when the safety cars came, who took advantage of those moments. And I think in Brazil, a lot of cars crashed out Obviously, Ferrari retired and Carlos Sainz.
Yeah.
Sergio Perez has been terrible. The Mercedes were not really anywhere too tough. The McLarens had a bad race. So all the major players in that Brazil race had bad races just because of the wet weather. So it's more of an outlier in terms of Vegas. Checking out the not just the qualifying but the actual practices, the Alpine is still probably I would say 6th or 7th quickest car in terms of the grid. I think Gasly was lucky in the fact that towards the end of Q2 there was a crash for Colapinto, because it was very close for him not making Q3, because I think both Esteban Ocon and Magnussen were going on better runs, and I think they should have both made it to Q3 ahead of maybe even him and the likes of Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton was even lucky to get to Q3, I think, at that point because of the crash.
Yeah.
In terms of
get off the grid as well. He almost hit the barrier. Well, he managed to control himself well and get back into the grid. But yeah, that was risky driving by Lewis Hamilton in Q3. He almost costed himself there. But yeah, continue, bro.
So in terms of like 1 lap pace, the Mercedes was by far the quickest in terms of 1 lap pace, and then the Ferrari McLaren was in between. Verstappen is Verstappen, so he was overdoing his Red Bull compared to the actual pace of that car. The Hasses looked really good, and then the Alpines, I think, are just behind the Hasses in terms of 1 lap pace and in terms of the qualifying. So for Gasly to get his Alpine to 3rd, he overperformed the car. But I expect that from him, because with him and Ocon, I look at them as 2 drivers that are capable of winning races if given the right opportunity. I mean, I think they both have had race wins, if I'm to be correct, and I think they're both drivers that could easily make it in a top team. Obviously, Gasly had the past with the Red Bull Racing and the Toro Rosso, and being put in the car when it wasn't at its best. And then Ocon's had issues with Force India and that past with Checo and stuff like that. And I think when him and Checo were in the same car, he was the better driver. And I think Checo made a lot of mistakes throughout that season as well. So I think these are 2 great drivers in my opinion.
And obviously now you've got, like, you know what it is nowadays with the amount of money that's been put into F1. Yeah, the amount of money that these top teams have, like Ferrari, McLaren, Mercedes, and Red Bull. It's very, very hard for teams like Haas, Alpine, what'd you call, what's the name, Kick, Sauber, and Alfa and what's the name, what Aston Martin, to compete with them. Obviously, the money's there, right? But financially, like with a cap limit, it's harder for them to compete. And you put these drivers in decent cars, they might perform very well. They might perform very, very well, and it also depends on how they conduct themselves as well, because you need to be almost perfect to make it to a big team. To like you need to be almost perfect to get the contract from one of these teams. And over the years, they've shown that they can be a threat with their cars, but the problem is, like I said, the other cars have the better upgrades and the better pace. So that's where my point came in about the bigger name cars, so that they can bring in the money, and then they can bring in the what you call the infrastructure to allow these drivers to race in top quality cars. But all in all, yeah, near double podium for Ferrari. George Russell, pole. Max Verstappen just outside the top 5. Lando Norris. Did he finish below Oscar Piastri?
He did.
what
No,
does
it was above. It was
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
sixth.
yeah.
but regardless, yeah, what does this mean now for? Actually, we'll start with George Russell. What do you guys thought? What do you guys think of George Russell? And obviously, let's talk about and afterwards we'll talk about the Ferrari and then so on and so forth. Go on, King. I'll start with you on this one.
Oh, what with George Russell?
Yeah, George Russell. Yeah, what do you think of that?
Yeah, as I said, the Mercedes had the 1 lap pace over the practice. I think George Russell was top of the list twice, and Lewis Hamilton the other time. So I think it was always down to one of them to get the pole. If anything, I think Hamilton made mistakes which allowed for George Russell to get the pole today. But George Russell for me is one of the young drivers that has the potential to be a world champion, but he needs the right team or the right car because he's at the right team. He just needs the right car behind him.
Yeah,
I didn't like Mercedes' move to bring in the youngster Kimi for next season. I think for George, I think he needs a more experienced driver alongside him because for me, as good as bringing in youth can be for a top team sometimes, I think it's a very big risk for Mercedes. So
I think it just makes George Russell the lead driver now. To be honest, I think he's the lead driver of Mercedes now as Hamilton goes because who else is going to lead? Like George Russell was on. Who was he on prior to? Who was he on prior to Mercedes again? I can't remember.
Williams.
Williams, right? So going from Williams to being the lead driver at Mercedes is a privilege for George Russell, but the competition there's no competition in my opinion. Like it's for me, I agree with you. It's a risk to bring in a young driver like that, and obviously George Russell being way better than him. Obviously, I can't speak yet, but as what we might see, George Russell is by far the better driver, right? Obviously, so making him the lead driver and his second competition is not going to be as great. You need to replace Lewis Hamilton with someone that's competent enough to compete with George Russell. And I'm gonna go with a very very controversial shout here, and this might and this might sound really delusional, but I really think Mercedes should have gone for someone like Alex Albon. That would have been maybe at least somewhat, I'm not saying they're on similar level, but there's competition between the two drivers. Because as of now, you bring in a young driver to compete with someone like George Russell, who's already been at Mercedes for 2 years now, and he's already kind of experienced himself near the top level, has won races. It's kind of a risk to bring in someone like Alex Albon, right? For me, would be, I think, you're kind of setting the bar that you can compete. I guess I'll be able to throw it up, bro.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I respect the shout. I think Alex Albon has revitalized his career after leaving Red Bull. He's done amazing at Williams. Many good Q3 finishes, many finishes in the points, outperforming his car by a lot. So no doubt Alex Albon is an exceptional driver. And him and Carlos Sainz together definitely will be interesting because they are two high-profile names staying at Williams, which again, historically is one of the best teams in F1 history. Recently, not so much, but if you get two high-profile names at Williams with James Vowles as the TP, that means there is some potential and faith that the Williams can succeed. So, but going back to Mercedes, I actually don't hate the Kimi Antonelli hire. I actually think it's really good because I think you have to look at it from two different ways. One, what is Mercedes? Who are Mercedes? Mercedes, yes, for the last few seasons, haven't been a contender, but they still are one of the biggest franchises in F1. They still are the franchise that have won 8 constructors championships in a row, and very recently, they have big money with them. Maybe the richest team I think in the whole sport. So they are a contender. Mercedes are a contender. So then, how do you become a contender? Obviously, one, you need a very good car. But aside from having a good car, you need to have drivers that are able to make the difference at the highest level. So I look at the market. I see, okay, you have George Russell, who, yes, is blossoming, but we haven't seen him in a championship fight yet. Sure, he has had a couple races, like Belgium, for example, where, yes, again, the car defaulted, but strategy is exceptional. I think when you look at the number 2 driver, in a contending team, I don't think you can have someone of a similar stature of, yes, can grow and maybe compete. Rather, you get someone who is able to win championships today in the now, like a Lewis Hamilton or a Max Verstappen or a rising superstar. And as Toto Wolff has said in 2016, they missed out on the opportunity to get Max Verstappen. Today, the next Max Verstappen is here. His name is Kimi Antonelli. He's very, very young. He'll be the youngest driver on the grid. I don't see any other driver that is worth taking over Kimi Antonelli, because there is no driver that is able to win championships today and take the risk. No problem, because what if Kimi Antonelli does fulfill his potential? Because his potential is world championships. So take the risk. He's been in the setup for a long time. He's been mentored by Lewis Hamilton. He's close to Toto Wolff. And George Russell is emerging into a good team leader. Say what you want. Look, I am very fond of Lewis Hamilton. Everybody who watches the channel knows that. But this season, Lewis Hamilton's head has not really been at Mercedes, right? He's basically been trying to time pass time, get to Ferrari. And George Russell, on the contrary, has been the team leader. He has been the one uplifting the team. He has been the unifier. Even when there is a little bit of friction and chaos and disappointment, George Russell has been empowering the mechanics, the engineers, saying, hey, we can do better. We'll be there eventually, keeping those standards high. So I think getting Kimi Antonelli makes sense because there is no contender out there.
If not Kimi Antonelli, who do you guys think Mercedes would have or should have gone for? Just give a name. Like,
if it wasn't Kimi Antonelli, Carlos Sainz. 1,000% Carlos Sainz, because
that's a shout, man.
Because Carlos Sainz is the only one that's proven his worth at the highest level. He can get race wins, but do I think he can make the difference against Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton or Charles Leclerc? I'm not sure.
Also, what do you think? What do you call that George Russell, sorry, George Russell, Kimi? Do you really think that it's a risk at this stage? Obviously, now you've got because there's also drivers like Ollie Behrman, who was already driven in a Ferrari and finished in the top 8. Do you also think that maybe they could have gone for him? Maybe they could have gone for someone like Liam Lawson, maybe next season or something like that. Someone who's a young up and coming. Yeah.
I don't think so. When it comes to certain drivers, because they have links to certain teams. So for Behrman, he's a Ferrari man. Liam Lawson is a part of the Red Bull group. So it's very hard for Mercedes to bring in those type of drivers. I think outside of the only other options they would have had outside of Kimi would have been to bring in Carlos Sainz or a Valtteri Bottas. Those probably would have been the two names that I would have thought of in terms of you have the three options. You have a guy that's Valtteri Bottas that has experience, that's been around the block, that can be the kind of cool, calm, collected head. He's been the number 2 to your young, rambunctious Lewis Hamilton, and he's played the number 2 role very well in the past for Mercedes. So bringing him back would have just been like a smooth sailing, even if it was for like a 1-year contract, just so that you can maybe have Kimi as a reserve driver for a year, just so he can get the ropes, maybe not fully like integrate, maybe do some test practices, and then maybe give him another year to grow. Because I think he might be too young for the sport, and I think it might be too much pressure to put someone as young as him into a Mercedes. The other is, I think both Mercedes and Red Bull probably made a big mistake not trying to get Carlos Sainz. I mean, throughout this season, you've seen that if you give him the opportunity, and even the previous season, he can win a race. He's been a great number 2, and I think the only reason Ferrari are still in the race for the constructors is that they have 2 drivers of equal quality. There's not, for me, there's not much difference between him and Charles Leclerc. Outside of the, and he's a bit more experienced as well. Plus, his dad is a former driver as well, so he has that. He has the experience of his dad as well, so he has a mentor in that sense, similar to Max Verstappen with Jos. So I think he knows what he wants to be and what he wants to become. So I think it is a shame that we're not going to see Carlos up the grid. It'll be interesting to see what he does with Williams. But I think, especially Red Bull, I think they made a big mistake in keeping Sergio. I think Sergio this season has shown that he's not of the levels. He isn't able to to compete with any of the other drivers up there, and Red Bull have pretty much lost the constructors based on loyalty to a man that I don't think is good enough. So it'll be interesting to see what happens next. Obviously, Carlo Pinto was a guy that looked like could possibly get the Red Bull seat next season, but he's had a couple crashes in a row, and crashes, and your stock goes down. So it's going to be very interesting to see the rest of the season, because Sergio right now looks a shadow of himself.
Way off the pace, yeah.
And I think there may be more surprises in the driver market, especially if Red Bull decides to make certain moves, because they've been seen to be very ruthless in the past. So I think there's a seat either in Red Bull or in the sister team up for grabs. They may even move up a Yuki or a Liam Lawson to the Red Bull seat, because they can be that ruthless. So it'll be interesting to see what happens next season. But yeah, I do like the Kimi kid. I've seen a couple of his races in F2. He does look strong. He does look like he's the next upcoming talent. But you never know with guys like that. You never know if they are that talent or if they're just, smoke and mirrors. Because a lot of the times you see guys come in and you think maybe they may be the next big thing, but they're not there yet. So it'll be interesting, because it's very difficult to be a world champion in this sport, especially if you don't have the right team, the right setup, the right car, the right moment. Because there's been many great drivers that haven't won a world championship or haven't won a race over the years. So it's a very difficult sport to be successful in. Well, yeah, that's what I really think about it. But yeah, I think Mercedes just did what they believed was the best choice in bringing in a young superstar.
But yeah, I completely hear you on that, man. Like the drivers of similar quality, they should be bringing in drivers of similar quality. That's what I'm saying. Maybe Alex Albon can be somewhat of a level to George Russell in a sense, but also I think that you're right about Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc. There are a very similar quality of a very competitive level, and obviously now you've got Max Verstappen competing by himself, really. Because I was gonna ask you guys, what the hell has happened to Checo Perez? Because this guy was like, he was he was on a roll last year, like winning race after race after race. Like literally, you could name him how he won as much races as almost nearly as much races as Max Verstappen has. But the way that he's conducted himself over the past year, I don't know what's actually happened to him. I don't know what's happened to his car. Is it him? Is it him just not giving a shit, or is it just him just not or is it him just like, I want to get out of Red Bull. I want to move on, or he looks like he does not want to be there. He looks like he does not want to be there. I'm watching the way he's driving. Yeah, like seeing his qualifier, he's finished outside Q1, Q2 again, or he lost in Q1 again or something.
Yes.
Because as a second Red Bull driver who's just won two championships back to back, right? Red Bull winning 2 constructors championships. You're not supposed to be driving at that type of quality. Now you've got McLaren, right, overtaking you quite easily as well, quite comfortably. Like McLaren have just overtaken Red Bull with ease, with 2 drivers that respect each other, with drivers that actually will team up and actually compete. But Checo Perez is not on the level of Max Verstappen, and I think this is where, for me, I think this is where he's shown the side of him, like the real side of Checo Perez. But people have been gassing him up for too long. People have been giving him too much props, right? But everyone's forgetting that he was in a really good car.
Look, I understand where you're coming from, Ekevin. In the last year, I absolutely agree. I think Checo Perez's performances have been nothing short but untenable, unacceptable. And based on performances, there is no reason he should still be in that car. He is probably the worst performer on F1 when you factor in what team he's at. So I agree with you. But I don't think this is his true colors, because there's a reason he got the Red Bull seat when he was at Racing Point back in 2020, 2021, he was outperforming that car. We remember that heroic race in Bahrain when he was last. He went from last to first. That doesn't happen if you aren't a quality driver. And then for Max's first and second championship, he was instrumental in them. He was the Great Wall of Mexico. Do we remember in Abu Dhabi? He held back Lewis Hamilton for a considerable amount of time. And on street circuits, whether it's Monaco, whether it's Baku, Checo Perez is the master of street circuits, or Singapore. He gets wins. But this season, I agree with you, Ekavin. Where's he gone? Where has he gone? Because in the preview, we did a preview for Vegas a couple weeks ago, and I said this could be make or break for Checo. I'm surprised he still even has more opportunities, but it is because...
Sorry to interrupt. Has he even won a race this year?
I think he did early on. No, King?
Only a couple seconds.
Okay. So there you go. But Vegas, exactly. But Vegas was the last street circuit until the end of the season, and he failed to even make it out of Q1. So again, dismal, unacceptable. He has to be replaced. And again, when we criticize a driver, we're not doing it personally. He might be the nicest guy in the world. This is just a professional scrutiny and evaluation of him. So I agree. Yeah. But I want to say, going back to Mercedes real quick, you guys made some good points about Carlos Sainz. But I want to add something. I actually think it's smart that they got Kimi Antonelli, because next season Mercedes aren't going to contend. And when you get the ability to contend, maybe in 2026 or 2027, you want a driver who's willing to be there for the long term. And Kimi is that guy, Sainz isn't. So that's why I would take the gamble, because the risk reward, it makes more sense to poach him than not.
And just to move on, from this, like, obviously, like I said, where do you think I think Checo Perez goes and retires? Do you guys think he retires, or do you think he just plays? Or do you think he plays out in the year or so?
I mean, I don't know where a seat is available for him. So I think he sits out like Danny Rick did.
Danny Ricciardo, yeah, fair enough. And obviously, because Mick Schumacher is still thereabouts. Hey, he is going to come back soon. Mick Schumacher is going to come back soon. So we don't know where he could end up. But I just want to move on now to, obviously, Max Verstappen finishing in the top 5. And obviously, let's bring McLaren into this as well. Do you guys think that this Max Verstappen 5th place finish might have just sealed in the championship? Because now you've put what'd you call it? Now you've just put Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri out of the podium places. You've prevented them from getting the podium places. You've now finished above them. Can you now outlast the two and confirm your championship? This is my question now. Do you think this seals the championship for Max Verstappen? Do you guys think it's over? Because I don't think he finishes above, it's done this week. But
well, I think you can already engrave the trophy. I think he won it several weeks ago. The fact is, since Lando landed in Miami, he's had the fastest car. He's had the fastest car for 2/3 of the season. He didn't make the difference. And again, Max Verstappen has done what Max does. He makes the difference even when he doesn't have the fastest car. I think he's won. To make up 60 points in 3 races, Max is going to have a couple DNFs and Lando win them both. 1, Max is reliable. He's not going to DNF. And 2, because he doesn't need to take risks. And 2, Lando's not going to win. So I think it's over. Even if Max, for whatever reason, failed to qualify, he would have still won the championship.
For me, when it comes to Max, I think he won it last race. I think the performance to come back from 17th in the grid to win the race in Brazil, with all the things that happened within that race, the changing in conditions, the multiple stoppages, everything that happened in that race solidified this championship for him. I don't think there's anything Norris can do in the last 3 races to catch him at this point.
Sorry to interrupt, people. You've got half an hour left into your FPL deadline, so please make sure you do your teams.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. So for me, him winning that race, getting the fastest lap, 26 points in, I think he basically landed the title last race. I just think it's more inevitable than anything. In terms of the McLaren's qualifying, I just think they were underwhelming. I didn't. In terms of like qualifying, yeah, they were underwhelming. In terms of practice, they have been the third or fourth best car. So the third best car, they were behind the Ferraris and the Mercedes in terms of 1 lap pace. So it'll be interesting to see how the race goes, because I think this race could be a big decider in both. Well, this race can be a big change in terms of the constructors' title, because I think if Ferrari get a double podium, and McLaren have a terrible race and finish 6th, 7th, 8th, I think that could be another title that they end up losing, just like the main championship to Max. So what could have been a great season for McLaren is going to turn out to be a bad one, just because I think they made a lot of mistakes when they, as Evan said, Augusta said, I mean, when they've had the best car for the pretty much.
I wouldn't go as far as to say bad season, because I genuinely think this is from a third car competitive, like from a third car competing. This is one of the greatest like comebacks, or not comebacks, but this is one of the best rises I've seen from a car who I never thought would be in a championship battle ever this season. Like, because they're now, right. If Ferrari do their due diligence this weekend, then that pretty much puts McLaren in the at risk, or alarm bells are ringing. Because, bro, like, for them to have the season that they have right now, I wouldn't say it's a bad season. I think that's a bit harsh, because Lando Norris never won a race prior to the season until this season. Am I correct? Yeah, and obviously Oscar Piastri, who's also won a race this season. So I wouldn't say it's a bad season. I'd say it's been a pretty competitive season for them too, and I think you run it back. You run it back with a few upgrades next season as well. And I think, you know what, with how McLaren pan out, I wouldn't say a bad season at all. But go on, I guess. Yeah, I want to get.
Yeah, I don't want to interrupt. Sorry, but I don't think bad or good is correct. I think bittersweet is the word. I think the word is bittersweet, because retrospectively, you're 100% right, Ekevin. If you asked Lando Norris at the beginning of the season, hey, by the end of the season, you're going to have several race victories, you're going to have 7 or 8 poles, would you take it? At the time, he would have bit your hand off for it. So yes, he would have been ecstatic. But when you factor in the demise of Red Bull, which nobody could forecast, and then the ascendancy of McLaren to them becoming the outstanding constructor, not competing, but McLaren for the most part have been the best constructor, because Ferraris have had dips in dominance. I think when you're looking at it reflectively, not retrospectively, it is bittersweet, because there were so many times, just as King said, and you said, Ekevin, where McLaren have had the car, but they have failed to convert. Just look at, again, Monza, for example. Monza is a fantastic example. Yes, Leclerc won, and it was very shrewd strategy. That's when he produced the masterstroke, right? The one stop. It worked. Nobody thought it would work. But really, when you factor in the pace of McLaren versus Ferrari, he should not have even been close to the race victory. The fact that Lando didn't even finish on the front row, these are missed opportunities, and over time it accumulates, and then he makes a couple errors. I saw a stat since Miami, which is when McLaren had the fastest car. From Miami all the way up until Brazil, Lando and Max were tied on points, if you just look at that period. That is very underwhelming, because Max undoubtedly had the 3rd or 4th fastest car. So that should not be happening again. I don't think bad or good. I think Lando will, of course, be pleased that he's in the books. He's in the record books. But it's bittersweet. It's what, yes, we did finally jump over the hump, but we should have done a lot more with what we had. And next season, we're facing a Ferrari car that's on the ascent and will likely be the best constructor heading into the season. So it's a really big missed opportunity for them.
That's fair. I hear that. I agree with the missed opportunity, but at the same time, like, nobody expected it, so you can't. It's like it goes either way. But for me, I think they've had a good season. Like, for their standards, nobody expected for them to be where they are right now.
Sure.
And to get into, like, a bit of the to get into the hunt of constructors championship is very good, and also one of the drivers being top 2 as well. So it's still in the cards, but if Max Verstappen finish above the McLaren drivers, it's finished. So, and I think that'll happen as well. And obviously, Max Verstappen has had a bit of a resurgence after last week as well. Obviously, last week where he got his pole. Last week, last race where he got his pole, and obviously, he hadn't won a race for a long time since then. I don't count sprint races; I only count the actual race. So this is like, you know what? I think Max Verstappen, even though winning the championship, should be very disappointed with how his season went out, because you do not, if you're a contending driver, right, you do not go months without winning a race and then come back and be like, you seal the championship. I think, you know what it is? I think Max Verstappen got very, very lucky that McLaren made some mistakes along the way. That they made some big errors along the way with a lot of penalties, a lot of grid drop-offs and everything. And obviously, I think if you ask Max Verstappen, he'd be relieved, because he's been ripping into his team. He's been ripping into his team week in, week out about about this and that, about how his car and stuff like that. Like, he's if you ask me, if F1 was supposed to start now, right, with Lando Norris in the form that he's in right now, I predict Lando Norris to win the championship. I can't lie. I would actually, if I had to predict it, if the season was going to start now, and with the way Lando Norris has panned out, I would probably go with Lando Norris to win the championship, like drivers' championship. Considering the way Max Verstappen had a season like this season, even though he's going to win it, right? You don't go months if you're a contending driver, you don't go months without winning a race. I'm sorry, that just does not happen. He'll probably sort it out next season. I think he'll probably sort it out next season, but I don't know, man. I just don't know if you shouldn't go months without winning a race like that. But yeah.
Can I just say something really quickly about that?
Go on.
I see where you're coming from, Akavin. I'm actually going to go the complete opposite. I think this has maybe been Max's finest season in Formula One yet, at least since he's been a contender, because the last 2 seasons, especially 2022, it was a one-man season. Let's be honest here. Like, there was nobody able to compete with Max. The second car for Checo was completely designed and tailored to Max's needs, so Checo was not even in the race. It was just Max versus himself. And he was impressive, don't get it twisted, to break the record for most race victories in the season. Very impressive. But really, he had the car, and he has the capability and the confidence. I think this season, that Red Bull car, if it was a contender and had the ability to win throughout the halfway point of the season, Ekevin, I'd agree with you. But even in Brazil, that Red Bull car, the fact that Checo finished close to last and Max won the whole damn thing, making up 10 positions in the first few laps, that's pure skill. That is the epitome of pure skill. So I think, again, Max is making the difference, even in races like Singapore, for example, where Checo, very underwhelming in no man's land, and Max finished second in a car that really, on the balance of play, should be in the midfield. Max makes the difference. He does damage limitation effective. So I think this has been one of Max's finest seasons. Sure, he has mistakes, like in Mexico, wheel to wheel, sometimes too aggressive, but all in all, he has been the most outstanding driver. And if I had to pick a driver who is favorite for next season, I would have Max and Leclerc ahead of Lando.
Fair. I can't lie. You make a good point there. But I think, I just think that still, even though it's one of his finest season, you still don't go months without winning a race like that. Like, you still don't go from at least 4 or 5 months without winning a race. Like, you've only won your first race since Spain, which is like what, May or June, which for me is not good enough. Like, even though Max Verstappen is still going to win it, it's not good enough. Like, because Lando Norris could have easily capitalized on that and won more and been on top. So he kind of got. I agree with you about fineness, but at the same time, he kind of got lucky in the sense that McLaren made a lot of mistakes along the way. But I'm gonna move on to Ferrari. What do you guys think? Because Carlos Sainz, his final 3 races as a Ferrari driver, finishing second behind George Russell, and then you've also got and then you've also got now Ferrari finishing Charles Leclerc finishing 4th. that's just about the podium places right there. So if Ferrari can get double podium, they will literally be within touching distance of getting on top, or they pretty much will go on top. But King, I want to start with you first since you're a Ferrari fan. And obviously myself as well. But what's your hope for this weekend? Obviously, we can speak bias in the sense we all support Ferrari. We can obviously say what we want, but what are you feeling ahead of the race? How are you feeling ahead of the race?
I think Ferrari could easily have a 1-2 if they get the strategy right. I think in terms of race pace, they've been the best car over the weekend. Obviously, 1 lap pace, Mercedes had them, but in the race runs, they've been the best in terms of keeping the tire for longer in terms of degradation and stuff. It's not good. The thing about Ferrari is they're great with mediums and okay with hards, but it's going to be a
It was actually the soft tires that they did during the qualifiers. So that's where I give credit where it's due, because the soft tires might actually get them over the line this weekend. I can't lie. It might be the soft tires, because I'm looking at it right now, right? If you have this much pace with already the soft tires on qualifiers, and especially with the fastest time, then it's in your hands to go with the soft tires or not change to the medium tires, because a lot of the drivers this weekend, I just want to get this point across. I don't know if you guys have seen, right, but a lot of drivers, right, this week nearly crashed out during the qualifiers. How many drivers had to conduct themselves during the turns because there was so many near how do you call it, barrier crashes. Like, it nearly hit the barrier on the side with the the advertisement boards. There was one horrendous accident as well. But King, I was going to continue, bro. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, it's a street circuit, so that's gonna be, when it comes to qualifying in a street circuit, there's gonna be close calls, and there will be 1 or 2 crashes. Of Colapinto crashed in Q2, which led to a certain I think Ocon and Magnussen not making it to Q3 because of that, and Lewis was very lucky not to be knocked out of Q2. But yeah, I said in terms of what I looked at during practice, Ferraris were the fastest in regards to race pace. So it's going to be very interesting to see if they can carry that on. I think it's going to be a medium hard race, so I don't think softs are going to be the tire that is going to be the go-to because of the degradation in terms of the tires is very high in the softs. So I think most teams are going to start on medium if they're in the front of the grid and hards in the back, and then it's just going to be based on making the right plays in terms of the right strategy for the pit stops, because I don't think it's a track that you can actually pass in because it's a street circuit, so it's very hard to pass someone in a street circuit like this unless you are comfortably a second quicker than them, than the other driver. So it's going to be all about the start, and it's all going to be about the pit strategy. And I think if Ferrari get it right, they can easily be finished with a 1-2 easily. I don't think Gasly is an issue. I think Gasly is just going to go down and down. I think the only problem they're going to have is probably Russell. But I don't think any other car is going to compete with the Ferraris in terms of the race, in my opinion.
Yeah, fair enough. Agassi, you're going to say something earlier, just before I quickly have to go back in.
Oh, no, I was just going to echo what King said. It's a street circuit, so every street circuit, they're going to be close calls. That's just your average day at a street circuit.
Yeah, fair.
So, but I agree with what King said about Ferrari and a 1-2.
Yeah, drivers need to be on their A game if they want to get control of the grid, because it's going to be a very very a very very dangerous turn on most of the turns. Anyways, it's going to be a really one of the turns could decide your race, real talk.
True
so
that.
you have to be perfect with your obviously control. And I'm hoping a Ferrari fin double podium. That's all I'm hoping for this weekend. I need a double podium for Ferrari, 1-2, 1-3, 2-3, whatever it is. I don't mind. I just need a Ferrari double podium this week. The point for me is it's about a constructors championship now. That's all we're competing for, and we're within touching distance of McLaren, which is 36 points off. That's enough to get over the line. That's enough to get past them if say they fuck up this weekend. So we'll see. But we're gonna move on to our predictions now. Let's give our top let's give our top 10 predictions. So sorry, let's go from 10th to 4th. I'll start with you, Agustia.
Ooh, put me on the spot there, Ekevin, but I'm down. I like being on the spot. So 10 to 1, Ekevin?
No, 10 to 4, 10 to 4.
Ooh, 10 to 4. Okay, I guess in 10th, I will go with Nico Hülkenberg, because that Haas is obviously, he has been insane in qualifying, my MVP this season, but on race pace, they're not there.
Ooh. Interesting shout. King, what were you? 10th.
I don't know if it's going to be a hassle.
I think it's gonna. I think it's gonna be a Haas.
The thing that's worrying me is to see what Yuki does on the race as well. Because Yuki, he qualified 7th. You got Nico at 9th. Depends. I don't think Lewis is going to get that far ahead.
Kevin Magnussen finish.
I think Lewis will get far ahead. The Mercedes looks very quick this week. Even on race pace, it does. Their long runs look good, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm going to go Ocon 10.
That's fair. Ocon 10. Kevin Magnussen 10 for me. I have a good feeling that he might be. I don't know why. Like he has done it before, but I don't know. I don't think it's gonna be one. It's gonna be. I agree. It's gonna be one of the Haas's. And I think Magnussen might get top 10. What do you guys think? You guys think he has a chance at top 10? Or
I mean, chance for sure. Obviously, there's a can, but will he? I don't think he will now, because he doesn't have track position.
Fair. Actually, you know, I'm sorry, people. I think let's just scrap top 10. Let's just go with our top 5 predictions better. Let's go with top 5. Mm-hmm. So on top, I'm gonna go with Charlotte. From 4th to 1st, it's not a massive jump. And the times will, and considering how the turns are, it's going to be a really close battle. Cars will literally be right behind each other. It's not going to be like where cars are going to be like, we're like 23. It can happen with you like 23 seconds behind or something like that, but I don't see it. I think it'll be a very, very tight race. Similar to Monaco. Very similar to Monaco. But what do you guys think? I'm going to go with Charles Leclerc to finish first, as I'm backing Ferrari to do it this weekend.
I think a very good goodbye gift on the Vegas Strip will go to Carlos Sainz.
That'd be nice.
He's right behind George Russell. And like you said, Ekevin, it doesn't matter. Sainz or Leclerc, just get the job done.
Really? Just get the job done, and exactly.
Sainz has track position, and this seems eerily similar to Singapore for me, where when he has track position, unlike Leclerc, he has the courage of his convictions to seal the deal. So I think Sainz will just win the race, and comfortably.
King, what are you?
No, I agree. I've got Sainz to win the race. And just to carry on tradition, I think George Russell's going to crash out, because every time Sainz wins, George crashes out. So I think that's going to happen.
Touche. I agree. And then I guess while Ekevin is gone, King, who do you think will round up the podium?
Leclerc, Verstappen.
I agree. I think if Sainz doesn't win, Max will win. Otherwise, Max will be on the podium for sure, and I think he'll clinch the championship in style.
I don't think he has the car to win, but I think he'll be quicker than both the McLarens and Hamilton. The only reason Verstappen won't get the podium is if Russell has a good race, but I have a feeling that Russell might crash.
I agree.
Ooh, that's interesting. Second, I'm going to go with Carlos Sainz to finish second. I'm going to go with the Ferrari double podium.
I like that.
What about you guys?
Yeah, King had Leclerc second, and I would agree.
Fair. Other one, swap one of them two. It's fine. I don't actually. Carlos Sainz was my original pick, but I won't forget what the last time I predicted what Carlos Sainz would do. I predicted Carlos Sainz to win one race and I didn't go down well, so I'm gonna stay cautious over here. I'm just gonna be like, I'm gonna go with Charles Leclerc. Third, George Russell. I think he's done enough to get him from podium place this week. As much as we all talk about Esteban Ocon and how the Alpine is done, and I think you know what, spoiler alert, I think he'll finish top 5. He'll get top 5 for me. But what do you guys think? I'm gonna go with George Russell finish third.
Wait, sorry. Who did you say will finish in the top 5?
I think Esteban Ocon might get top 5.
Are you talking about Gasly?
Sorry.
There's a segment. If you think Esteban Ocon's in the top 5, place a bet, man. I think the odds are really good for that.
I was so confused. I was like, one of the Alpines finished top 5. I'm like, oh my god.
Oh, good, man.
I thought because we were talking about Ocon for so long. I was like, sorry, I got confused. It's Gasly. Man. So sorry, it's Gasly. You're right. Gasly top 5. Sorry.
Big.
I like
that.
I got so confused. This is a clip up moment, people. A clip up. Yeah, top 5. I think they'll finish top 5. But fourth, Max Verstappen for me.
No podium, Ekevin.
The thing is, right? He can do it. It's a toss up between George Russell and Max Verstappen, and I'm just gonna go with. Actually, you know what? I'll go with Max Verstappen to finish third. George Russell to come fourth. I'll change it right now. What do you guys say?
For me, I had Verstappen third, Norris fourth.
Yeah, I had Norris right behind Max as well. I agree with King. I just think Max will clinch the title in style. Style means finishing right on the podium, or if circumstances goes his way, they'll win.
That's fair. Fifth.
I have Gasly fifth.
Same.
I just think the
LANDO
pace.
Norris. Go on. Let's see what you think.
I like the Gasly shout. I personally want that to happen because it would spice things up, but I don't see it. I don't see Alpine being remotely near to any of the top 4 constructors on pure pace. So even the Haas's you can make the case for. I think Gasly will finish right inside the top 10. I'm actually going to go a little bit bold. You guys, I think King's going to be surprised at who I'm going to say. I think Lewis Hamilton will finish 5th. Just because if George Russell's going to crash out, because I think he'll crash out, it means there'll be a safety car. So someone's got to be catapult up there. So I think Hamilton will, get the luck of the draw.
I just, for me, I said Gasly. I just think he's going to be stuck in DRS trains and just be tugged along rather than actually have to race his pit race pace. I think, especially with it being a street circuit and it being difficult to pass, I think as long as you're in the DRS train, I think you can get away with just staying behind someone and just, letting them pull you along. So I think Gasly might get lucky with that, especially in the early part of the race when it's medium tires. If he gets a good start, because he's P2, you'll probably maybe lose a place or two, and then he can just DRS train until the pit stop and then maybe just squeak in a 5th.
Fairs. And obviously, Max Verstappen to confirm the championship this weekend. Then you guys think to seal it this weekend? Yeah. Hear that. But yeah, people, we're gonna wrap it up here. There's over 32 of you watching. Please make sure you like and subscribe. I've shared the YouTube link in the description of the tweet, so please make sure you click that and obviously you subscribe. And make sure you like the video as well. I'm nearly on 100 subs, so please make sure you get subscribing. I'm only 11 away, so it's free to hit subscribe, people. So go and subscribe. Thank you guys for hopping on. I know it's late in the evening here. I do need to go for an evening walk. Obviously, it's the sun's pretty much gone, but yeah. tomorrow I think we will do the F1 review around this time as well. Similar time if you guys are okay with this as well. I think we should do around this time again tomorrow. The F1 review for the race, if you guys are free.
Is the race around the same time as quali?
It's 1 p.m. tomorrow. The race is 1 p.m. tomorrow for us, and it's 6 a.m. for you. So let's just do around this time again tomorrow. The F1 review.
Yeah, sure. That's the most.
It should be like it should be like 2-hour race.
That's fair. That's fair.
I mean, we can do it right after the race if you want, but I don't know if that works.
Possible, but I'll see. But yeah,
we'll see.
We'll wrap it up here. Thank you guys for hopping on. King, thank you for pulling through, bro. And Augustia, you as well, man. It's been a while since we last spoke. We will do a bit of so we will review the F1 race tomorrow, and obviously and all that stuff, and we'll preview again the next race when the next race happens. So people, thanks for tuning in. King, what you got coming up, bro?
No, I'll just be on this channel.
I'll definitely shout your channel out as well in the description. So please make sure you guys go and subscribe to him as well as I do so.
I haven't actually officially started the videos. I was meant to do it last week, but things happened. So I hope to start soon. It's just trying to figure out what ideas to put in place, because when it comes to like content creating, it's kind of just like trying to figure out what kind of route you want to go down. So just trying to figure it out. But I like being on this channel. I like debating topics and stuff like that. Formula 1, football, any kind of sports. I'm into it.
Augustia, you, what do you got coming up, bro? You want
to F1 race tomorrow, right? That's what's coming up. So yep. we will see what happens.
And obviously Premier League football deadline, FPL deadline in 8 minutes. People, make sure you do your FPL teams. Football starts in an hour and a half, and obviously, King, you got Chelsea. Quick prediction for the Chelsea game. Let's get a quick prediction for the Chelsea. I'm gonna go with the Chelsea 2-1 win. Away at Leicester.
Quick 3-1. I think it'll be a sluggish first half. I don't think the first half will. And I don't think any goals in the first half. I think everything will happen in the second half just because of international break fatigue. First half will be quiet, and then we'll just win it. Second half 3-1. Probably just concede one at the end.
Yeah, I agree. I think post-international break, players are reacclimating to the pace and tempo of Premier League football, but eventually Chelsea's quality will come through. So 2-1 as well.
Yeah, and obviously, we got Arsenal. I think Arsenal should win the game, and obviously, we got later on Man City Spurs. I think City will win the game, or it might be a draw depending on how City can come back from the season. Obviously, yeah, and then we got United Ipswich tomorrow. That'll be interesting. We're having his first game. I can't wait, man. I can't wait. Actually, for the first time in a long time, I'm actually excited to watch United again. So yeah, people, make sure you guys keep it locked into the channel. Please make sure you like it, share, subscribe, and all the good stuff. Yeah, take care. See you later. Forza Ferrari.
Peace.
Peace.